the Baseline Road Trailhead. Join me for a nice leisurely mountain bike ride and, I'm in Ocala, Florida, and I'll be honest, when I was first researching this bicycle trail, I really had no idea that it was as elaborate as it was. There's all these different branches of interconnecting trails, and I was shocked. And to be honest with you, it's such a complex set of trails, you could get lost if you're not paying attention. So there was a little truth to that teaser at the beginning where I kind of took a couple turns and wasn't really paying attention, and I ended up kind of in a maze a little bit. So obviously I started out in the parking lot and wanted to give you kind of an overview of this particular trailhead. And what's interesting about this trailhead is it's a full-blown park. There's a really impressive playground, one of the most elaborate playgrounds that I've seen in Ocala. Another unexpected surprise is there's a pretty good set of restrooms here. Not all trailheads have them. When I was at the Pruitt Trailhead a couple weeks ago, there were no actual restrooms with running water. They had a porta potty, but if you've ever had to use one of those, you realize how unpleasant that can be, especially in the summertime. As I mentioned earlier, because there's interconnecting trails, you actually do have maps that are on wooden signs throughout the trailhead, and my focus for the beginning of the video was I actually decided to run through the 5K loop where they have those 5K running marathons. If you notice, there are a lot of different branches and turns, so you really do need to look for those arrows on the ground as well as the signs pointing to the 5K loop, because otherwise you're going to be running in circles. So let me kind of describe the layout of this trail. It's not the easiest thing to articulate. The Baseline Road Trailhead is basically the southernmost point of these Greenway trails. So the overall Greenway is known as the Marjorie Harris Carr Cross Florida Greenway. And that actually consists of about 4 different trails. On the southern side, you start out with the Red Oak Trail, and then the next one up is the Meadow Lake Loop, which is most of what I rode in this video. And then the next one up is the Gopher Trace Loop, which I believe connects into the neighborhood that I explored briefly, and that actually leads out to the east side, known as Pecan Pass Trailhead. On the top north side of these trails of the Cross Florida Greenway, there is the Trekway Drive Trailhead, and the trailhead basically ends at Marshall Swamp. It's pretty crazy. There are quite a few of these different trails, and if you were to try to walk all of them, it's probably around 4 or 5 miles total. Heads up, people. Vehicular manslaughter is coming through. So this Baseline Trail Park isn't very far from Forest High School. From what I've heard, that school actually uses this 5K loop to train their cross-country team and track team and those type of things. Definitely a pretty nice facility. I would imagine it's way nicer than the parking lot that I used to run around in when I was in high school. It must be nice to have a high school right across the street from this place, because this is a really nice park. I guess it's all about location, 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 because the convenience of having such a nice facility near a school definitely doesn't hurt. So I was taking this bike ride in January, and that's why the foliage and the grass and the trees are kind of browned. It was all the cold temperatures for what Florida considers wintertime. Here in Ocala, we don't really have full seasons, but we got these little mini seasons where at least the grass isn't bright green and like it is in the summertime. But overall, I actually think the temperatures are amazing, because today it's about 70 to 75 degrees. It did warm up, and it's perfect bike riding weather for exploring this park for the first time. You'll notice all the painted markers on the ground. As you can see, I'm coming up, it looks like on the 1.5 mile marker for this particular ride. I really did appreciate these thoughtful touches throughout the park. There's, arrows pointing to the 5K loop. There's these, countdown markers to let you know how you're progressing through the 5K loop. Just a lot of really thoughtful touches at this particular bike trail. One of the nicest ones I've ever been on. I will admit, there are plenty of amenities on these trails. Whether you need a trash can or a park bench to take a rest, there's plenty of opportunities here to stop and just take in the scenery. Overall, it really is one of the nicest trails that I've ever ridden. And I've probably been on close to 100 of them by now. So I came to this park on a weekday, and you can tell it's not very crowded. If you're looking for peace and quiet and a tranquil setting, then your best bet is to come here during a weekday. My friends have warned me that this place does get a little overcrowded on the weekends, especially when they're doing special events like the 5K. But overall, this is a great place to unwind, and the southern portion of this trail is the most traveled. As you get into the middle sections of this Cross Florida Greenway, you will see the trails just get completely desolate and empty like they are right now. Not a lot of people venture up towards the Marshall Swamp. I do get a chuckle out of the give warning when passing sign. I guess some people on the bikes just go nuts and crank up the speed and try to cover the 5K in like 5 minutes. But for the most part, if you're just taking a leisurely cruise on the bike like 95% of the people who use this trail, it is kind of a ridiculous sign. I guess there's some people that aren't paying attention. There was those two old people that kind of walked right in front of me as I was coming up, but again, I'm on a bike and I'm just kind of idling along, so I mean I can literally stop on a dime. I just don't get the whole recumbent bike thing. You know, I realize the seats are more comfortable than the ones on the traditional bikes, but at the end of the day, you look like you're riding the short bus of bicycles there, and I just can't get past how stupid looking they are. So right now I believe I'm on the Red Oak Trail, and the way that you can tell you're on the Red Oak Trail, I believe, is they have these signs that are memorials to different people who paid to, I guess, get an engraved plate for a loved one on this particular trail. You'll notice that the little plates are on the sides near, specific trees. One of the things I'd like to mention before I wrap up this review, this trailhead has multiple pathways that are paved, but what's also interesting is they have these scenic hiking trails that are interconnecting with the main paved pathways. One of the things you want to keep in mind is you're not supposed to ride a mountain bike on the non-paved hiking trails, but because I'm an idiot, I did it anyways. So, yeah. Part of the fun of this particular park is just randomly exploring these nature trails. The terrain kind of changes a fair amount I'm no expert on geology or agriculture, but nonetheless, it's still pretty neat to see the different terrains out here in the park. I was having fun just seeing things that I've never seen before. This section of the park with all the pine trees here really reminded me of the movie E.T. E.T. and Elliot are running around with the Reese's Pieces in the forest sections of the movie, and I was getting nostalgia for a little Steven Spielberg action, so I guess I'll pop that movie in when I get back home. One of the things that you should keep in mind when you come to this park, I did see quite a few warning signs about bears. So if you're going to explore these scenic nature trails, you definitely want to bring your bell or your bear spray. I don't think it's going to be an issue if you're just going mountain biking on the main paved pathways, but definitely if you're going to go deep into these woods, you probably want to be a little better prepared than I was when I was filming this. Although I was completely unprepared when I went out there, I started to rethink that as I saw more and more signs. So what's the bottom line for the Baseline Road Trailhead? This place is amazing. Quite honestly, I've been on a lot of bicycle trails over the years, and I've never really seen one laid out like this. There's such an interesting grid of interconnecting pathways and hiking trails, and there's so many places to explore. You can come out here and ride or hike for hours and not see the same thing. I'm really impressed with this one. I definitely highly recommend it if you're in the Ocala area. Thanks for watching this episode of The Adventure Shmup. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe. See everyone next week.